Hey everyone, just wanted to do a wrap up of my video here on this trip at Atlantis in Nassau, Bahamas. It is a beautiful place, I'll give it that. Definitely a very, very nice place. And you know, although a lot of the things are closed still for COVID, especially over here on the coral side, it seems like most things are closed. The coral pool, the predator tunnel, the lazy river and the kids area, all of that stuff is closed. But even with all of that, it's actually a pretty good place to be. There's lots of stuff going on. There's lots of places you can be, lots of things to check out. The towers right now, like the Tower of Power and the Mayan Temple where all the slides are, those are currently alternating, and so it's every other day the other attraction will be open. It looks like the River Rapids one, not the lazy river, but the one with the rapids. That one seems to be open all the time, and it's pretty good. There are cruise ships that are coming in. We're seeing a bit of that on occasion, and when that happens, things get a little bit more crowded around here, to say the least. But ultimately, we haven't had a lot of bad experience. One of our favorite places to be is, we're right here behind you is the Coral Hotel, and there's a beach and a pool that's back behind me a little bit more towards the beach hotel, the beach tower, if you will. And that's one of our favorite places to be. The crowds were small. There wasn't a lot of people there. There's a nice little bar there. Things that you will miss out on is near the pools, the main pools over there. At the little drink stands, you can buy a soda cup that's refillable all day for like $4. You won't get that over here. It's just not big enough, I guess, for that. But that is a nice, handy thing. Speaking of drinks, this is one of the cups that they give you. It's a refillable bottle. It's not bad. We had 4 people in our room. They only give you 2. So we're kind of glad we brought a couple of other insulated bottles with us, because otherwise we were kind of thinking that each of us that was in the room would get one, but apparently not. You can buy them. I think they're $19 a piece in the stores if you want. Biggest issue I had with these, honestly, is that you can't fit ice in the neck. So if you go to the ice machines, you can't put ice in them, only the water. So that brings me to the water stuff. Throughout the area, there are actually water stations, and including in the hotel. So we were over here in this wing of the Coral Tower. Our room was 8313, and on the 6th, 9th, and 12th floors where the ice machine is, they also have a water station. And it appears it's filtered water. It comes out very, very slowly, but it tasted really good. So no issues with that at all. Just know that they're on the 6th, 9th, and 12th floor if you do that, up by the ice machines. Of course, when you're this hot and you're sweating all the time, drinking fluids is absolutely important. And it is tough when you're around here. You know, the costs here for everything is extreme, to say the least. You know, bottles of water anywhere from $5 to $11 for water. We've seen some pretty significant stuff like that. The other thing to keep in mind here is, on pretty much everything you buy, doesn't matter if it's a sit-down meal, or if you're walking into the little sundry shop that they have, grabbing some Dramamine, walking up to the person, paying for it, and walking away. You're paying a 15% gratuity and 12% tax on top of everything that you see. So if you get a $10 sandwich, it's going to be $12.50. You know, a $13 drink ends up being $16. The good news is the gratuities included. The bad news is it's on everything, whether someone actually really served you or not. Just something to keep in mind. So what we've been trying to do is, in places where we actually had a server, somebody that's taking care of us, somebody that's doing that stuff, we're of course adding a little bit extra. Another thing to remember about here is that for the most part, the resort is cashless. There is very little you can do with cash money around here. Pretty much everywhere is either a credit card or you bill to your room. So you want to go to the drink stand and you know, get a drink, You're going to either have to have a credit card or your room key. You bill it to your room. It can be a little less convenient. Other than that, it was pretty typical for the resort type thing. The rooms here were a standard hotel room, at least in the Coral Tower where we were. Again, Coral Tower 8313. It was very much like just a Courtyard by Marriott type of deal. You know, 2 queen beds. There is a nice little balcony in the Coral where from the balcony, when you step out, if you look right, you get a wonderful view of rooftops. It's the convention center for here. But you can look left and there is a spot where we can see the water from our room, which isn't bad. Now when I checked in, it was interesting. I asked the gentleman at the counter if there were any upgrades available. I was thinking about paying to upgrade to a water view, especially since we were here over 4th of July and they were going to be doing the fireworks out of that side. So I asked him, I said, hey, you know, what's available for upgrades? What can I do to get an upgrade here? And his answer was basically, you're in one of the best rooms we got. And that was end of conversation. I was like, okay. But, you know, ultimately we could see the water from here if we looked hard. Not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. The patios are very small. We really didn't end up spending much time out there other than maybe in the morning. You go out there and kind of look and see what's going on. Again, the property is beautiful. It is huge, absolutely huge. So I recommend if you're just getting here, go through and explore. There's a ton of stuff that I found throughout the week that was really kind of cool. Now, one of the things that I kept coming back to was the dig. It's probably my favorite thing around there. It's the giant aquarium, basically, and it's in the downstairs in the lobby of the Reef, the big hotel here. And basically, you know, down there in the bottom, you'll see a bunch of very large aquarium, basically tank looking thing, right? Off to the right of that is the entrance to the dig, and the dig allows you to go underneath there and through there and check out stuff. They've got it all laid out in some pretty neat ways. It's just kind of a cool experience, and I kept finding myself going back to there time and time again just to watch the fish, to see that giant manta ray that cruises around. They got some sharks in there, nurse sharks, lots of just really cool stuff. There's a lobster area. Don't forget when you walk in through the lobster tunnel there to look up. It's pretty cool. There's just a lot of things to do. Now, if you go outside on the main level of the lobby, you can actually see the stuff from the top. It's basically the dig from the top where you can see all the animals swimming around. There is a snorkeling tour that's there. I don't remember how much it costs, honestly. But I did see some people in there snorkeling while that big manta came cruising right past them, and they were pretty wowed by that. I thought that was pretty cool. But there were lots of animals and stuff here. My wife kind of, she said this is kind of like staying at SeaWorld. That's kind of what it boiled down to. That's the feel. Now, we do a lot of amusement parks being from Tampa, and it does. It feels a lot like an amusement park. It's beautiful. It's well maintained. Haven't had any issues with that. But ultimately, it does feel like staying in, you know, one of the amusement parks. I got to say, the staff here has been extremely friendly. Every time we meet someone, they've been really, really nice. Some minor exceptions with just the people, you know, where you're going to get breakfast or something at the walkaway sort of places. Some of them seem a little bit short. Not bad. They're just, I'm here to do my job, thanks. Where when you talk to the other people on the grounds, just even the security guards, everybody is just super friendly other than that. On our first real day here, our first full day, we actually ran across a person over here feeding the stingrays, and we thought, you know, that's kind of cool. And we were watching them, we were talking to him about these, and they were the little stingrays. And he said, you know what, I'll tell you what, you come back at 2 o'clock and meet me by the big stingrays up there, the mega rays, and you guys can feed them. I mean, he just threw that out there on his own. We were like, whoa, okay. So sure enough, we came back, we met him, and he let my daughters feed the stingrays, and he even brought along a little turtle and let them hold the turtle and check it out. I thought that was just amazing. I mean, he was just so nice, so friendly, wanted everybody to enjoy themselves and learn. And I think that's the thing that's taken me aback here with the grounds here. Everybody is just really so friendly, waiters and things like that. So off property is interesting. The 15% gratuity and 12% tax does seem to fly a lot at the restaurants and things like that. So we did a lot of exploring on one of the days here. We took a taxi out to Graycliff. And before I get too far into this, let me tell you about taxis. I told my wife I believe we've spent enough in taxi fares here to have taken a taxi through all of Mexico had we been staying in Cancun or Cozumel. The taxi fares here are pretty high. So coming from the airport, I think that was $60 or $65. There's 4 of us, so they charge per person. Going out to the fish fry for dinner was $28 just for the one-way ride. So it adds up really, really quick. And the way they do it is there's a set fee and then it's additional for each person that's with you. So it's not like you get the cab and it drags all the people. You can't share a cab. You can't really save much doing that. The cabbies seem to be very friendly. There's no issues with that. We didn't have any problems. Everyone was super friendly. They'll generally give you a card with a phone number where you can text them or WhatsApp them, and and they'll come pick you up. We did have one gentleman who we rode here from the airport with, actually, and we had eaten over at Curly's and we were wanting to go back, so I messaged him, and it was one of those, oh yeah, I'll be right there. 30 minutes later, I'm going, hey, where you at? And oh, I'll be there soon. So things run on island time here. That was probably a little bit extreme. He says he ran into some traffic, but you got to be a little bit patient. Otherwise, in all these places, there's always taxis sitting there waiting. Now, one of the tips I was given is make sure that their license plate is yellow and that it has TX as the first letters. I believe it was TX. I'll try to get a picture before we go so you can see. That means it's an official cab. Otherwise, there are people who will drive you around and they'll give you a price, they'll drive you around. We actually had one of those who was a super nice guy. But if you want to really be safe, make sure that you're getting an official Nassau cab. Let's see. Oh, so the food stuff, right? So we ended up taking this trip out to Graycliff in a cab. And Graycliff is this like whole city block of stuff. So there's a hotel, there's a resort, there's the chocolate factory, there's also, let's see, what else was there? Oh, cigars. So Graycliff is this whole area. Now we ended up going into the chocolate factory and we took the tour. Tour was, I think, 10 or 11 bucks a person, something like that. And they basically give you a tour of where they make the chocolates. Honestly, it was kind of cool, but I don't know that I would do it again for that price. There were some neat things, they talked about the floors, the tiles that are in there, like a couple 100 years old. And that was kind of neat, and you get to learn to see how different chocolates are made, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, white chocolate, all the processes they go through. But, in the grand scheme of things, it was probably, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. And yeah, it was okay. We did the, I believe it's John Watkins Distillery tour, which is free. So you go up there and they walk you through kind of the history there. And that was pretty neat. There was some cool stuff there, a lot of history there. It's a very quick tour, but they take you back. They show you where people are doing some bottling and where they've got some casks set up that are largely for decoration. They ended up bottling, I think he said, about 1,000 bottles a day. And they make several different varieties of rum based on how long they've been aged. And they also make a vodka from sugarcane. So at the end of the tour, they take you in and you can, of course, purchase things there. There are some coupons we got at the airport. Knocks like $5 off 50, I think, or 10% off if you buy 2 bottles of rum. The rum's not cheap. I want to say the mid-grade or the upper mid-grade was about $42 a bottle. But all things said and done, it wasn't bad. We did a tasting over there. It was, I think it was $10 a flight, and you got 3 different types of rum. There was a $15 tasting, but that $15 tasting included the high percentage one, which we weren't really interested in getting. I think that's 120 something percent. So we skipped on that one. But it was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. So then we continued on our walk, and we ended up seeing this art museum that they have here, the National Heritge Museum. We didn't go through the tour on that. That also was like 10 bucks a person. But they had cold waters there, and they were $1 a piece. So it was fantastic, right? We were sweating, it was hot. Cold waters, $1 a piece, something to think about when you're there. They have a little gift shop that's open, and they do have some art outside that was really kind of cool to look at. It's of course sturdy art, metal work, but man, it was pretty cool stuff. We stood and looked at this first one by the pedestrian entrance for a long time. There's so many things going on. It's like a pirate battle scene, and there are just so many things going on in there. It's amazing. So we spent some time looking at that, and then we walked down through one of the other roads down there, and it was like along a cemetery, and it was very interesting because I thought it was an older cemetery when I first saw it, but we saw graves there from 2020 and 2021, so they're fairly recent ones there. But it's above ground type stuff. Most of them are above ground, or a lot of them are, or in cement kind of sarcophaguses. You know, we have issues in places where it's really wet. You know, in Florida I see this too, where you know, if you bury something, sometimes they float back up, and I don't think they want that. But we continued that walk down that street and ended up at Junkanoo Beach. And we walked Junkanoo Beach. It was at this point that we were told by some other tourists that you had to wear a mask even on the beach, out in public, out and about. Now, it seems that's actually true, where on the resort here, unless you're in the building, they don't really care. They don't ask you to wear masks anywhere but like in the buildings where you're in close proximity of other people. So it was interesting. Of course, these folks, they had actually said, oh, it's a $250 fine. They can take you to prison, you know. And at this point, we were actually over by the Coconut Man. And he was cool. I love the Coconut Man. And he was like, hold on. He's like, they are not going to lock up you tourists. We love you guys. We're so glad you're here. He said, they're not going to lock you up. They're not going to do that to you. But out of, you know, an abundance of caring for others, and you know, we don't want to make people feel uncomfortable or anything like that, we just went ahead and wore our masks. Not a big deal, right? But the Coconut Man, he was really cool. So he has these coconuts, they're like $4 a piece, and he takes the coconut right there and chops it up and ends up giving you the coconut with the straw in it. Now it's a neat experience. I was not a huge fan of the coconut milk, but or coconut water. It was warm, and it's like thick water. It's not bad, but it's a little bit thicker water. It was a cool experience though, and I still have the coconut up in the room. It was pretty cool, and I love the guy. The guy was so nice, and he came out and he actually spent some time with us, and he said, you know, we are so thankful that you came here. Thank you. Of all the places you could have gone, he said, we're so glad that you came here to Nassau. And we got that over and over again from different people. They were very, very thankful that we were here. The cab drivers, their economy is so based on tourism, and things have been shut down for so long. It's been very, very hard on them. A lot of people lost their jobs. One of the gentlemen, Dorman, said here at Atlantis, they had to let go like 700 people. And if I'm not mistaken, the Atlantis is the second largest employer in the Bahamas next to the government. I mean, it's huge. They employ like 3,000 people. So they're really glad to see us back. They really are. And he spent some time. He was just so thankful. So keep that in mind. If you're out and about and you're seeing people, give them a couple bucks extra. You know, just let's help these folks out. They've had really, really hard times. And if we're here, obviously we're blessed enough to, you know, to do that. So it's kind of nice to do that. So anyways, from there we ended up going to Curly's. Now, Curly's was pretty cool. It was a spot that was recommended by Elroy, our original cab driver from the airport, and it did not disappoint. So the conch salad was fantastic. My wife and my kids loved the conch salad. The jerk chicken that I got was also wonderful. Now, it was a spicy jerk chicken. She warned me, but I like spicy food. It was one of these things that by the end, I was kind of sweating a little bit. The sinuses were clear, and it was really, really good stuff. We ended up coming back later, and we went to Goldie's, and I highly recommend Goldie's as well. It's also at the Fish Fry, and the Fish Fry is just a huge group of different restaurants bundled together, in case you were wondering. And Goldie's was fantastic. We ended up sitting out on the back patio area there, looking over some water, and Goldie was actually over there cutting up conch and tossing the meat in the water, and there were turtles out there, and the turtles and the fish would fight over the meat. It was pretty funny to watch, but man, he was going through that stuff pretty good. And it was just entertaining, and the food was fantastic. I got the cracked lobster, and man, I did not expect an entire lobster tail. I really didn't. It was like 20 bucks. It wasn't bad considering everything else here is so expensive. Everybody who got a meal there absolutely loved their meal. So Goldie's, highly recommend. We were also able to ask them for some conch shells, and they took and they washed some conch shells that they had. I mean, there's a ton of them out there, but I think some of the fresh ones, they washed them and they gave them to our kids. They were like $5 a piece. If we go down here at the marina, they were 30 bucks for a conch shell. So keep that in mind. If you're going to Goldie's, ask them, hey, can I buy one of the conch shells off you? And it's $5, right? Can't go wrong with that. Other than that, the experiences here were great. We came over 4th of July weekend, so it's 4th of July 2021, and they actually had a whole bunch of stuff going on. So they had all these tents set up, they had games, they had all this kind of stuff going on. Now, none of it was free. Okay, nothing comes free here, I'll tell you that. None of it was free, but it was pretty cool. And then they did have the fireworks. So I have some video of some very out of focus fireworks. I may throw it in here, I don't know. But it was kind of cool. They were out off the beach. There was a barge out there, and they shot off fireworks for quite some time. It was a neat little show. Now today, it's July 10th. This is technically their Independence Day as well. So they've got some things planned. I don't know if it's as big a deal. Unfortunately, we'll be gone before all that comes through, but that's something that's going on today. So look out around those holidays for big things like that. We were at the, I believe it's the Junkanoo Festival yesterday down in the marina, and the Village Marina is a beautiful area just to kind of walk around. Full of shops, there's restaurants everywhere, there are massive boats. I mean, we're talking big yachts all over the place. And on Fridays, I think it is, around 8:30 p.m., they do this Junkanoo Festival. And basically, it's a parade of people dancing coming through, and it's fantastic. It was really cool. High energy, upbeat. They have other street vendors out there. It gets a little weird there because this is one of the only times I've seen where some people only accepted cash, while the restaurants and stuff only accept cards. So keep that in mind. If you're going to go out and you're going to go to the Junkanoo Festival and you want to buy like the carvings and stuff like that, they are going to want cash. Most of them did not take cards. So that's something to remember. But ultimately, great experience overall. Other things that we did see that I didn't mention earlier, we went to that Nassau Pirate Museum, and I gotta say, that was probably my favorite thing that we went and saw in town. It was like 10 bucks a person, again, not horribly expensive, but it was well worth it. They have like a mock-up of a pirate ship there you get to walk through, and you just learn a lot about the history of Nassau and many of the pirates that were here. So I found that very, very fascinating. The other thing we did that was wonderful, we did a tour with Bahamas Boat Tours. And what we did, it was a half-day private tour, the four of us. We were on the 26-foot Mako that they have, and we went out. It was basically like a 9 to 1. I think we ended up going 8:30 to 12:30, okay? But we snorkeled on a couple of the reefs. And the beauty is they asked us, what do you want to do? And so we kind of gave them an idea. This is the things we want to do. So we snorkeled on a couple of reefs right there. Then we went out, we swam with the turtles. which was okay, but there just weren't very many turtles. And I think by the time we were moving around, there were a lot of other people there, and they were kind of like, okay, we're out of here. My understanding is they go and hang out in the deeper water when the humans come around too much. But that was really cool. We did see 4 or 5 different turtles cruising around, just eating the seagrass. That was kind of neat. And then on the way back, he threw a couple fishing lines in the water, and we did a little bit of trolling with our extra time. We caught just a small baby grouper and a yellow snapper. But the tour guide, his name was Ryan, Captain Ryan. Awesome dude. I cannot recommend Bahamas boat tours or Bahama boat tours enough. If you look on TripAdvisor, and I should be able to put a link in there here, they have like 590 something reviews, and almost every single one of them is 5 stars, and I see why. Now, it was $550 for a half day for the 4 hours for 4 of us, and I think you can take up to 6 for that price. But ultimately, when it boils down to it, I've seen the cattle car boats out here where they were snorkeling with those groups, and frankly, I think it was worth the extra money to do that, where you're not just packed on a boat and it's not just boom, boom, boom. So I highly recommend that. Thinking about inviting Captain Ryan to our house for Thanksgiving. He was that cool. I mean, it was awesome. He was kind enough, and I know it's not expected, but he was kind enough to take us around and drop us off actually at the Village Marina here. So we were right by the hotel. One thing to remember, yes, it was $550. We also tipped him very well. Again, these folks are working their butts off, and so he was awesome. He went above and beyond, so he got an extra tip. Other than that, there aren't a whole lot of other things to say about this, other than it was a great experience. Would I do this again? I don't know. I'm actually having a hard time with that. My wife says yeah. My kids say yeah. I'm a little bit more cost conscious than they are, I suppose you would say. It is extremely expensive. Every time you turn around, it's expensive. What I would say is I might be more open to doing like an Airbnb here as opposed to actually staying on the resort again. You can get Airbnbs for a pretty reasonable price. You'd be able to cook your own meals, for example. We did go to a grocery once and picked up some food. It wasn't too bad. I mean, everything here is expensive, even in the groceries for the locals. Figure you're going to pay about double what you're used to paying back home. I think bananas were $1.20 a pound. I think grapes were about $3.30 or $3.50 a pound, something like that. It's not inexpensive, not even for them, just because everything's imported here. But I think it would be nice to be able to have that with a full-size fridge. This mini fridge we have in the room, I don't even know if it's working half the time. It's a tiny little thing. But all things said and done, I had a great time. I don't regret it in any way, shape, or form. It was a great experience, and I'm glad I did it. Now that we've seen the place, now that we've seen all the little areas to be, and we've done what we wanted to do, probably not. I was in a car wreck last year, so my back is pretty messed up. I didn't get to do any of the water slides. I didn't get to do any of that stuff. And so I might think about doing a day pass if we came back when I'm well and I'm able to actually enjoy those things, to do them. Now, that doesn't influence my decision of coming back or not. The kids did some water slides. They had a great time with it, and that's cool. But you can buy day passes here as well. So something to remember, something to think about if you're going to come. So that's my wrap up here for our 8 days in the Bahamas, in Nassau here. It is a beautiful place. If you're thinking about coming, give it a strong consideration. It is really cool. It's a neat experience. And hopefully, if you have any other questions, let us know. Ask me some questions down in the comments here, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. But, overall, it was a great experience. Really enjoyed it. Now it's time to go back to the real world and back to work. So enjoy yourselves. Take care. Thanks.